What's up, guys? Welcome to another Professional Overrun podcast episode. Today, I've got a great guest in Mike Keys from Keys Outdoors. We're talking fall muskies. We're talking gear to do it in, as well as a bunch of other miscellaneous and random facts and stuff like that. Just sitting down talking fishing, and super happy to have you today, man. I know
thanks.
It was great that you were going to be in the area. Thanks for reaching back out, and I know we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. We've been just talking, for the last half an hour,
Right.
and getting kind of warmed up and stuff like that. And I think we got a lot of interesting stuff that you guys are gonna like to hear. So, like I said, Mike Keys, Keys Outdoors. If you guys haven't checked out his social media and stuff like that, you definitely need to do so. Probably some of the best pictures and camera work from a guy that's all self-taught, right?
Right. Yep.
So, if you want to just kind of tell everybody, introduce yourself,
Sure.
kind of talk about your background a little bit, and what got you into this.
Well, I started, this will be my 21st year in TV, and it kind of dates me on how old I am, but I started out in the hunting industry, and I started manufacturing hunting products and had 7 patents and kind of revolutionized some stuff. But I didn't like where the hunting industry was going. It was good to the point of we had, a lot of, it was starting to get to where quality deer management was taking off, which is always a good thing. But money, once again, I seen money come into that industry, and people then, buying, paying farmers where I used to go bale hay to hunt their property. It then became, well, what is your taxes? I'll pay for your taxes. And it kind of drove me out of that industry a little bit because I didn't like where it was going. And then what happened was I had so many, because I had my own hunting company, I was shooting video so that I could demonstrate how my products were working in the field. So I had a bunch of kills, whitetail bear on film, and a buddy came to me and said, "Hey, Mike," he said, "I want to start a TV show." And he said, "But I have no footage for a pilot."
Okay.
So I gave him all this footage, couple bear kills, some deer kills, stuff like that. He put it together. He hired a professional editing company out of Madison, Wisconsin, and they put the pilot together. He came back to me and he was like, "Dude," he's like, "Yeah, they want the show."
Nice.
And I was like, "Awesome." And I was still doing the manufacturing. And he said, "Hey," he says, "I've got a great idea." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Let's go to Canada." And he said, "I'll pay all expenses for your hunt and for my hunt, and we'll shoot a couple bears for an upcoming episode." I was like, "I'm in." So we went up to Carrot River Outfitters up in Saskatchewan, Canada, and I got him shooting like a 450-pound cinnamon right over his shoulder.
Oh, nice.
It was awesome. And it was my turn for the hunt, and he was an upstart company, and he says, "Dude, I really don't have the money for your hunt." And I was like, "All right, well, get me on the rebound." We got back into Wisconsin, and I was living out of Milwaukee at the time, but my vehicle was at his place. He stopped at a taxidermist, and he whipped out my hunt and cash to have a full bear mount.
Oh.
And I was, I was just livid, because I'm thinking as a businessman, 2 kills are better than 1. What is that full bear mount going to do you in your office that nobody's going to see but you?
For sure.
It just didn't make business sense to me. So about 2 weeks went by, and he called me up, and he was like, "Hey, I need that footage." And I was like, "What footage?" And he was like, "The footage of my bear." I says, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I gave up, you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
2 weeks to go up there,
Right.
And stuff. And he said, he said, "I want that footage." Well, he got a lawyer, like everybody does. And the lawyer called me up, and I said, "Well, I don't work for this guy." You know what I mean? I did this pro bono with all my gear.
Sure.
So technically I own the footage. I'm no lawyer, didn't go to school for it, but I know what it is. So he called me back. That didn't work. It was a bluff, trying to get me to cough up the footage. So he called me up, and he's like, "Mike, what are you going to do with the footage?" And this is a true story. And back then, no cell phones, landline. I'm sitting in my kitchen. My wife's there at the kitchen table. And true story. And he goes, what are you going to do with the footage? And I, just being a smart aleck, said, I don't know, Greg, maybe I'll start my own TV show. He said, you don't have what it takes to start a TV show. I slammed the phone down. I looked at my wife and I said, we're going into the TV business. And here I am 21 years later.
There you go.
True story. And so when I started 21 years ago, we did 26 shows per year, so half season, and we did multi-species, hunting, fishing, ice fishing, the whole thing. And so it was pretty cool. Got to meet a lot of really cool people, got to travel. But what happened is I made the mistake, if you will. I was filming out in North Dakota an ice fishing episode, and there was an old gentleman there from actually Poigan. And he was sitting on a bucket, ice fishing, and we're, after perch out there. And he goes, Mike, have you ever filmed muskie? I said, never did. And he goes, I got these two brothers that live in Poigan, Steve and Eric Jensen. He says, and I could call them up and they'd be more than happy to take you out. And I said, yeah, set it up. So a couple months went by and spring came around and we set the deal up. And, I was broke. I didn't have a lot of money and stuff getting into this. So I was driving a Geo Metro. Okay. I mean, for real.
Sure.
And so I pull in where we're supposed to meet, and I'm sitting there for 45 minutes, and I'm like, well, where are these dudes? Well, after about 45 minutes, I noticed these two guys sitting in a truck. I was like, that's got to be them. So I go over and I knock on the door, and I says, hey, are you guys Eric and Steve Jensen? He goes, yeah, are you Mike Keys? And I says, yeah. He goes, well, we didn't see you pull in. I says, I'm in the Geo Metro. And he was like, they lost it. I mean, they started laughing. They thought this big monster truck all logoed up was going to come in. But, the thing, and this is funny because after that shoot, getting into that shoot, that's where I got addicted, is I didn't even fish. I just ran camera. Sure. And Steve had probably about a 38 40-inch fish come in and went around 10 times on the figure eight. And he just kept figure eighting it, and then he hooked it. It was one of the most, and I wasn't even fishing. I'm running camera, but I'm seeing this through the lens of the camera. I was so jacked up, and I was like, oh my God, this was like, this ranks right up there with shooting a big whitetail deer. I mean, the adrenaline and everything. And what I liked about it is getting back to what I was saying about hunting. This is what I concluded out of it. No one can own a lake. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care, how much money you don't have. At the end of the day, it's open to everybody. Nobody can own it. Nobody can food plot it. Nobody can plant it. You know what I mean? It's all natural. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to talent. And that's what drove me, and I leaned more towards muskie, is because it couldn't be bought. Like the hunting industry has been bought. Let's just be real about it.
Very true, man.
Yeah. And it couldn't be bought. And that's why I gravitated towards the muskie, is because of that. And the rest is history. But one thing, getting back to the Geo Metro, I called them back, and I mean, it's a 3-cylinder. You know what I mean? And I got a speeding ticket on the way back. I was doing 70. And so the state patrol guy pulled me over and he goes, you know how fast you were doing? And I says, I don't. And he goes, you were doing 70 in a 55. And I said, really? And he gave me a $250 ticket. And I looked at him and I smiled and I laughed and I says, hey, I just made this money back. And he said, pardon me? And I says, yeah, I bet a guy $300 that this thing could do 70, and now I have the proof.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome. So, you're now full time on TV.
Yep.
Been doing it for, like you said, 21 years now. Tell everybody where they can find you, first of all.
Well, Keys Outdoors, just go to our website at keysoutdoors.com, and then we have all our links to all of our social media, our YouTube, our Facebook, Instagram. I don't do any of that. My daughter does that. She's come into the business a couple years ago, and just what a godsend, and yeah, so they can reach us through our website and go from there. We've been doing it a long time. We were like one of the first shows ever to utilize YouTube. And this kind of dates me, it goes all the way back to Desert Storm. And what was happening is I was airing on Fox, and we were getting requests from the National Guard guys that were being sent over there. They were, wanting something from home. And so I was doing DVDs and then sending boxes of DVDs over for them so that, show our respect for what they were doing.
Definitely.
And
that's awesome.
Give them a little bit of home. And some guy called me up and says, hey, there's this thing. It's called YouTube. And he says, you should check it out. It's for putting videos on. Well, they could only do 15 minutes of video at the time.
Yep, back in the day.
Back in the day.
Max length for YouTube videos.
Exactly. Definitely. And so, it was like, that was like game changer right there. So then what we did is started uploading, which would take forever because the internet, like overnight for 15 minutes of video. And so what happened is we would do like show 1, part 1, show 1, part 2, because the shows are half an hour long. So there would be your 15 minutes in a 2-part. And it was huge for us. And more importantly, it served its purpose. And I never thought it was going to really be what it is now, YouTube. But no one did.
Oh, very true.
And it's taken off, and it's just been a great platform for us. And that's another thing, too, that we've done that a lot of people haven't done is my sponsors pay for those shows to air on broadcast TV. We were then taking the episodes after they ran and putting them on our YouTube, social media.
Reach after
exactly, because guys, the only other way that they could do it was to DVR it, but guys would miss episodes, and everybody was hitting me going, you should charge for that. You should. And I'm like, no, man, you know what I mean? Why? I make a living. I've never got into this to be a millionaire.
Right.
And if you are thinking of being a millionaire and getting into this, you got another. I'll tell you, the old cliche with fishing is, how do you make $1 million in the fishing industry?
You start with 2.
You start with 2. Exactly. But I wanted to do it because, a lot of people, weren't getting the show. And so we've done it as really just an extension of what we do so people could watch it, and we put it up there. Another thing that we've just pioneered, we're the first show to do it as well, is we only have one commercial break. And that's the first, in the first 5 minutes, we have one commercial break, and that's for our big sponsors, Great Clips, Skeeter Boats, Sims. We give them that Quick Trip. We give them that first break, and then after that, there's no more commercial breaks.
It's just fishing.
It's just fishing. And, when we sent that over to Fox, it was like we were speaking a whole different language. Like they can't even think out of, they're like, Mike, you got to send us a pilot. We don't know if this is going to work. Well, it's going to work. Everything times out in the manner it's supposed to time out. But we wanted to make it commercial free. We wanted more content, and we wanted to integrate a lot of our sponsors into the catching of the fish, because a commercial is great, but really the best proof is when you see that fish come in utilizing that sponsor's product.
Oh, definitely. It makes that sponsor's time worth more.
Exactly. No doubt.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And you did mention your daughter as far as editing as well before this. So and you'd mentioned her as far as a little bit there and getting stuff uploaded and stuff like that. So you said something interesting about last season.
Yeah.
So You want to share that with us?
Yeah, sure. So what we did is my daughter, I edit all the shows, film all the shows, and it's a tremendous. It's a tremendous job.
So this is all in-house. This is all you. You don't have a production crew.
No. I turn the lights on in the morning and shut them off at night.
And honestly, so this is a comment coming in from Aaron on live here. He says, "Best muskie show on the web, authentic and real," and that goes back to that with all in-house editing and production.
Yep. It's when you start farming that stuff out, you have to sit there, and I would think you would have to be with that editor because you know how you felt at that moment in time because you were there. And so we wanted to keep it real. So what happened is a couple years ago, my middle daughter, Amy, I got 3 daughters, and she was the only one that showed interest, went to school actually for marketing and business, and she showed a lot of interest in editing. And so last season, and we didn't tell anybody this, but all the shows that ran last season, she produced. And
awesome.
Yeah, it was. And we didn't want to publicly say anything because we wanted to wait for the feedback from the viewer to come back, and they'd say, "Hey, we noticed a change. What's going on?" So it just really solidified in our mind that I taught her well.
There you go.
That
definitely.
she's playing it out. And what it did is it freed me up to do more of the outside production, the filming. So it's been a great, and she's just a great business person as well. So she's going to be the face of Keys Outdoors for thing to come, for the future.
That's awesome, man. Family-run businesses are awesome, and it's sweet that you've been able to make that into one. Not a lot of outdoor shows, I think, do that in general, and especially in-house nearly as much as you guys do. And coming from the bass background that I have, I've spent a lot of time especially in the wintertime when there's really nothing else going on, and I don't like freezing and stuff like that, so I don't ice fish a whole lot. I've sat down and watched episode after episode of your videos, and for those guys that are, like I said, are unfamiliar with Mike and his show, you need to go check them out. The style that they have that produces just an incredible product as far as videography. It's the story behind it is shown, and it just adds a different element to your videos, and that's something that draws a lot of people in. And like I said, I've musky fished twice in my life, and want to do more of it, by the way. But
right on.
It's just a great video.
Well,
It's
I appreciate
awesome
that.
to follow along, and like. If you get one person to go to your channel and watch some videos and get hooked on it, that's another person that you can add to the list of musky fishermen. And stuff.
Right, exactly.
So
and that's the thing too is that like I said, when I got into this, things aren't always. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in the world. And this is a true story. Again, when I was doing multi-species, I landed a pretty big company. It was a rod and reel company, and they called me up and said, "Hey, we want you in Cass Lake, Minnesota, to do a walleye episode." And the 2 guys that they set me up with at the time were like top of the game in the walleye world. And so we went to Cass Lake, and I'm not going to name names, and but it really molded me into who I am right now, because back then there was no cell phones, and we're fishing, and I'm filming, and they had a radio on the dash of their boat, and it was squawking, and I was like, "Can we shut that radio off?" And the guy goes, "No." And I says, "Why?" And he says, "Well, we got people out fishing for us, and when they catch fish, they'll run them over to us. We'll live well them and rehook them." Oh. And I was devastated.
Wow.
And I watched them catch they caught a 27.5-inch walleye. And I was all jacked. I was like, "Oh yeah, I hit record. I got everything. Sure. This is cool." It was done on their own. I watched them kill that fish. I watched them open up their rod locker, and they had brand new hats from all these manufacturers in the boat. And it was, okay, put that hat on, change the shirt, put a different bait in the mouth of the... It sickened me.
Sure.
I mean, literally sickened me. We got back that night and got into the cabin, and I packed up all my stuff. And this is supposed to be like a 3-day shoot. And I packed up all my stuff. And the head guy came in, and he goes, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm done. I want no part of this whatsoever." I said, "This isn't the way I roll." And he pounded me on the chest, and he said, "Young man," he says, "you got a lot to learn about this industry, and you better get with it, or you're not going to last long." I seen that guy about 4 years ago at a trade show, and I said, "You remember me?" And he goes, "I remember you." I go, 20 years, buddy. I've lasted because I kept it real.
Right.
Kept it real.
And that goes back to everything in-house, you know. That's what makes your show, man. You know, and that's what captures the audiences that follow you and that watch you and stuff like that. And Greg actually commented on here as well. Said, "Mike is a good man. Dealt with him much when I was at Skeeter. Don't come much more honest than him." And that's exactly what you're saying, man.
Well, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and if actually anybody else has any questions or comments for Mike, and you guys want me to ask him something for you, just leave a comment on the Professional Overrun page. And like I said, while we're still live here, we'll ask him definitely for you. Going back to a couple other things, let's touch on some sponsors. So you're with RS Nets, Sims, 13 Fishing. That's kind of the ones that we were going to focus on today. Do you want to talk about a little bit about RS Nets? They're one of the best ones on the market. We stock them in store here, as well as some of the musky ones, by the way. They're on the wall.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's the thing is we've had them now for a full year. The last couple years, we've struggled with nets. And really not the hoop or not the design, but the bags. We were getting a lot of fish that were rolling in the net and the hooks going through the netting. And nothing is more painstaking than having a fish with its head out of the water and now it's tied into a knot into the netting. Cut hooks, do what you got to do to get that fish back down immediately into the water, and we were having issues with that. And
your biggest conservation tool has to be your net.
Absolutely, you know. And so, and I don't want to badmouth anybody or anything like that, but it was what it was. And I'm like, cut, you know, how do I show this on camera when this fish is all gnarled up into the net? And so a buddy of mine actually came up to me and he says, "Mike, have you ever used the RS net?" Because we were talking nets. And I went through 3 nets in 3 years. And by the way, I have some nets for sale. I'm only kidding. They're junk. And we just couldn't use them. And he said, "Have you ever tried a RS net?" And I said, "You know, I've never even heard of them." And I said, "Where are they out of?" He says, "They're out of Ohio." And so I contacted them, and they were like, "Yeah." He said, "We'll send you a net." And it has been unbelievable. The layout of the bag, first off, 100% American made. I'm all about that. Secondly, would be Jeff Miller, the owner, told me that the nets are hand tied by the Amish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's like really cool. And they're just super quality. They're very durable. They do have a solo net now for guys like me who do a lot of fishing by myself, and you don't want that big hoop, that big bag to deal with. So they have the solo net, which is awesome as well. So just a great American company, and like I said, I'm all about that.
Yep, if you guys want to check those out, we do have them online and in store, so feel free to swing in. They are in stock right now, actually. Just in time to get ready for fall muskie.
Yeah.
13 reels as well. So we've dealt with 13 for a few years now, and when I met you the first time up north, and you showed me your muskie setups on your boat, I was blown away at what you had in your boat in general. As an outside person looking into the muskie industry, you're thinking, these huge, circle reels and stuff like that, casting giant baits. You need to have the durability, and that's always been my thought process or my concept that I had for a musky reel is just big, oversized reel. That wasn't the case looking at your boat.
No, 13 Fishing, again, how I found out about that is a buddy of mine who guides for tarpon down in Florida took out some guys from 13 Fishing, and he called me up and he's like, man, you got to check these reels out. 30 pounds of drag, and they're the size of a bass reel. I was like, come on. And he was like, no, I'm for real, man. He said, we caught a 150-pound tarpon. And this thing was jumping, and he said, Mike, they're amazing reels. You got to check them out. So I contacted the company, and then I went and I ordered one because I'm not going to use somebody's product just because they're going to pay me. It's got to
work for you.
It's got to work for me. And if I'm going to put my endorsement on it, if you will, it's got to, I'd feel terrible if I sent somebody in that direction and it didn't pan out. It's just, again, I'm not about the money. And so I used it for a year, and I was so impressed with it. One, super small, so very comfortable to fish with all day long. 30 pounds of drag, and the price. I mean, we're talking what, $250-ish?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, $249 somewhere for a musky reel, and so I was so impressed with it that I went to order more, and one of the guys, because I had a direct line, and I was like, I want to order some. He says, you shouldn't be ordering nothing. We should be working with you, and we'll send you some. And so that's how that relationship started. And then now they have the concept zero bearing, which is a saltwater bearing in the reel. And I mean, literally, if I wanted to spool that reel with like a Mag Dog, I could do it.
Oh, sure.
I mean, they're incredibly smooth and durable. Unbelievable. I've had my fourth year with them, and I've not had one break.
That's phenomenal.
Not one. So
especially as heavy as gear you're throwing.
Exactly.
Yep.
And a lot of it is the reason why is if you look at the interior of their reels, and I've seen companies do this over the years, is they'll come out with a particular model that they want to really brand into the musky world. So they use brass, they use all of the good stuff. And then once the volume gets there and they prove themselves, some knucklehead in the office who's a bean counter comes in and says, hey man, we can save a nickel if we go to a nylon versus a brass, and they degrade the product, and then issues start. And 13 Fishing, it's all brass inside their gearing. And not only that, if you look at their wheel in there, it's 20% larger than any other reel out there. So that's why they get the 30 pounds of drag,
Yep.
No slippage on it at all. So it's not made in China. It's made in Korea. And, everybody, Korea. Korea is known for making precision tooling.
Oh, definitely. That's where most of the loose reels are made, too. So
Yep.
phenomenal companies over there.
Phenomenal companies over there.
Oh, my bad. I guess I wasn't getting great sound quality. Gotta adjust there a little bit. But yeah, definitely. So currently on order, we've got a bunch of the Concept A3s on order. They were supposed to be here a little while ago. They are on their way. Gonna be here sometime relatively soon, hopefully in time, so you guys can get some in your hands and get out and use them. I'll post the links. You guys can continue to check out our website at thereelshot.com and keep checking on that as far as the updated inventory and when those come in stock. They do go fairly quick. Back to musky fishing. Fall is coming. Cold weather. The gear to use it. Sims is another one of your title sponsors. Let's touch on that. We got some gloves in front of you.
Yeah.
We're going to hit on that.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
If you want to go through how they've helped you as far as staying out on the water longer, especially producing shows. I mean, if you're out there, you need content for your shows. You know, you got to be on the water a lot.
You got to be on the water a lot. And, Sims is another success company that they've been around forever, but always known for quality. And when it comes to gear, whether it be filming, whether it be fishing, that's one thing I won't skip on is gear. I've been doing this for so long, and oh yeah, this one's $20 cheaper. This one, you know what I mean? And there's a reason for that. So you're going to get what you pay for. Yeah, it's expensive. There's no doubt about it. But I've had a lot of rain suits over 21 years, and I've sold and in rummage sales, lots of rain gear.
Oh, for sure.
Their Pro Dry rain gear is second to none. Featherlight stores to nothing, so it takes up it's not bulky, heavy. It doesn't. Once you fish it in the rain, it takes nothing to dry it out, and you can put it into your dry pack, and there's where it is, ready to go. Another thing too is with the cold weather coming up is, some of your bigger fish are going to be caught, when it's nasty in November, end of October, November, and staying out on the water is really the challenge. And if you can stay out on the water, it's like hunting. The more hours you put in deer stand, the better your success. The more time on the water, the better your success. But staying out there comfortably is really what it's all about. And their Challenger suit is, stupid. Like, I can sit here and tell you how great it is, but until you wore it when it's 20 degrees out and vertically snowing, not coming down, but vertically. We actually filmed a show on Lake Huron, and it was Ben Olson, myself, and Brad Rue, and we were in an absolute blizzard. Like blizzard. And the fish were biting, and I caught a monster fish, but I wouldn't have been able to catch that fish if I wasn't out there at that time. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. I panned the camera, and Brad, I felt so sorry for him because he had a big name, clothing company, and he looked like a drowned rat. You could see he was shivering. He was cold. He was miserable. He did not want to be out there. There was like a gazillion other places he'd rather be, Then I slow pan over to Ben Olson, who's wearing the Challenger sim suit, and he's got a smile on his face. He's casting away. But more importantly, and I'll never forget this, actually 2 inches of ice formed on his back.
Oh, wow.
Because of the insulation, where Brad looked like a drowned rat, like he was soaking wet.
Yep.
Ben had 2 inches of ice, and I got where he was casting, and a chunk of it broke off in slow motion. And it was like, they're incredible. And it's that Permaloft fabric or interior that they're using is superior and second to none.
It's also way lighter, too.
Oh, my God. It's like feather.
Yep. So we did a comparison last fall with that insulated Challenger suit, and I believe it was the size large or XL that we did. The total suit weight on that is like 5.5 pounds, and the nearest competitor for the price was like 13.
Wow.
In weight, and
right.
The sim suit is warmer.
Yeah. Yes.
So less fatigue out there on the water, and you're casting big baits,
right?
Big rods. You got a lot of wear and tear on your body already. Now you're adding, or you're taking away a lot of the weight that a comparable suit would be.
Yep.
It just makes you feel more free and able to go longer. It just takes, it's less fatigue on your body.
Well, and the thing is too to remember is they're fishermen, so their cuts on their clothing is designed to function as a fisherman functions, casting over, the figure eight. Their cuts are really designed very well. One of the best, by far the best suit that I've ever owned. I've taken it ice fishing. If you're into ice fishing and not musky fishing, what a great ice suit. I mean, just fantastic, super lightweight. And I guarantee you that even in the coldest of weather, you're going to have to unzip it to let some heat out.
Oh, sure.
It's crazy warm.
Yep. Yeah, no, we do stock. Now, okay, so I should retouch on this. We are a brand new Sims dealer here at the Reel Shot. So we're still getting some of our orders in for fall. We just received, I believe, 10 pairs of the insulated Challenger suit bibs, as well as some of the jackets. I don't have all the sizes, unfortunately, right now. I think I'm missing extra large in the jacket, and I think 2X in the bibs. But something you guys want to check out now. Getting ready for winter, for fall fishing. If you're a serious diehard angler, cold weather, and like Mike is saying, this is something you need to check out. And last year, they ended up selling out before January 15th. Like, we couldn't reorder them where I was before. The whole company was sold out. They sell out every year. So if you guys want one, check them out now. And we can also take a pre-order and stuff like that. Just swing in, talk to me. I'm here 5 days a week. Also, I know Lance is going to be working hard to get these all on the website. They might already be up there. So you'll be able to order one online. And like I said, I'm stocking a significant amount of these, larger than I think anybody else in the area as far as the cold weather gear. So feel free to swing in. If we don't have it now, we're definitely going to be. And I think that's going to be huge for this area. I know a lot of guys were asking about those suits. And Mike touched on another key piece of equipment here is the gloves. These Pro-Dry gloves are incredible.
Unreal. One of the things that us late season musky guys are looking for is braid. What braid we're using, because not all braids are created equal, and there are braids that just suck up water. And that translates into your hands. And, so I've used the neoprene gloves. Again, yes, they'll keep you semi-dry, but your hands are going to get cold. And so, yeah, your hands are dry, but they're cold. They're not meant for cold weather. These gloves right here are the best gloves that I've ever owned. You can literally submerge these underwater, and your hands stay dry. But yet, more importantly, they're flexible.
Correct.
So they're not like the neoprenes where they're stiff and bulky. They come with a liner in them, so you can change out the liner if you want, but these just do not absorb water at all. And probably, besides the Sims Challenger suit, this is probably the most important piece of equipment that I have in late fall fishing muskies, is keeping my hands warm and dry.
Definitely. Now, I've used them in the fall too, but my biggest concern with those gloves were springtime. Now, this spring, for any of you walleye guys out there that are out there in early, mid-March, those gloves are literally the key to get more bites. When your hands are cold, your hands are wet, you work your bait differently. You have less sensitivity, less feel. And these gloves, like Mike touched on, they're super flexible. They're actually incredibly thin for how warm they are. And so you can still feel everything through these gloves. And I remember this spring, and actually last spring as well, with another pair of gloves that they had before they came out with these. But this spring in particular, where I was able to stand in the front of the boat and cast a ripping rap into 20 plus mile an hour wind at 28 degrees, and my buddies are in the back of the boat shivering and jigging behind the boat because they couldn't feel their hands anymore. They were numb. I was able to fish in the front of the boat, present the bait how those fish wanted to eat it, and immediately they went and bought these gloves right after that.
Right.
I mean, the proof is on the water.
It is.
And that's the biggest thing is these gloves and all this equipment is being used at an extremely high level by guys that want to spend the time out there and chasing these fish. You know, that's the biggest thing is if you want to stay out longer, you've got to have the gear that's going to let you do it, and that's the biggest thing. You can have all the want to in the world, but if your gear fails, you're not going to want to stay out there, no matter how much you think you do.
Right, and there's goes back to what I was saying, time on the water. The more time on the water, the more cash you can make. The more time you keep that lure in the water, the better your odds of getting hooked up on. So it is gear. You know, and technology has come so far. And with the clothing, Simms is a pioneer. They really are cutting edge.
Definitely. Oh man, is there anything else you want to touch on before we close it down? I know just another little statistic here that Mike was talking about earlier. You talked about a little bit more of the let's just say growth of the amount of people on the water this year. Now this year has been a little bit different with COVID and everything like that. But just alone in Wisconsin, 29% increase in fishing license sales. 10% up already for archery license sales.
Yeah.
Over the regular standard that we've seen in the last years. That's a lot of new people on the water.
That is.
That's a lot of people getting into fishing.
Yep. And I think what it is, you know, because of COVID, people, you know, just more time to do things. And I'm just seeing it like places where I've been known when everybody's going east, I'm the guy who's going west. I don't do well in crowds, and that's what brings me down here to the Winnebago system because I have guys out right now. I was up at 4:30 this morning and on the water by 5, and then quick came over here. They're still out, so we could do the podcast, but I'm going back out because we're trying to figure out that Winnebago system. The stocking reports are phenomenal, and you just don't see people out there. And that was the most impressive thing in the last couple days is like nobody.
Nobody's out there targeting
Nobody targeting muskies. We see walleye guys, but nobody targeting muskies. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'll let you know in a couple more days.
Oh, for sure.
But, you know, that's one thing with Keys Outdoors is we've always pushed the envelope, and I'm not afraid to because it's part of it. You know, people only see the finished product. They see the shows that turned out. What they don't see is a bunch of the shows where no fish were caught, days upon days on the water. But, you know, I'm that way. It doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. And if you're going to do what I do, it can't bother you. Because if you're going to be that guy who says it's always about catching a fish, well, then you're going to...
fishing's probably not for you.
Right, exactly. It's probably not for you. Or you're going to be amongst the crowd up in Green Bay where there's 45 boats right now casting the same weed bed. I can't do it. I can't. I would rather, I don't know, do something else than that. I would rather go and try something new that hasn't been done. And if I even hear an inkling of muskies, like a guy goes, yeah, my grandfather's seen a muskie there. I mean, like, no scientific, I'm there. I'm like,
let's go find them.
Let's go find them. Let's go see if this is for real.
Might be that one fish in that body of water, but at least we're going to go look.
We're going to go look. And that's, I think, probably my greatest pride with Keys Outdoors is our willingness to venture, to try new things, to go places no one's went, to see if they're there.
Now, something I've seen on your pages is like you camp out like on your boat and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
for days.
Yeah,
to go try and catch one of these fish.
Yep.
You know, just scrolling through your Instagram was fun. You know, the other day, and I was trying to find some good pictures to advertise this and stuff like that. And literally, I'd spent 10 minutes just looking at these pictures.
Right.
And there's some really interesting stuff in there. Some great underwater shots that I've seen too.
Yeah.
You know that like. Guys, got to go check out. Just search Keys Outdoors. All of his stuff's going to pop up for you if you want to check them out.
Right on.
But yeah, no, honestly, I've never heard anybody catching a muskie on Winnebago.
Right.
So I haven't been down here that long.
Well, hopefully I'll give you a call later on today and let you know, man.
No, that's awesome. the first time we met, you were doing kind of the same thing. You were doing a little bit of exploring up in the northern west region of Green Bay.
Yep.
Where, again, guys come up there, fish it heavy in the spring. After that, they disappear.
Right,
you know?
right.
And those fish got to go somewhere.
Exactly.
And that's what you were up trying to search up there.
I was just trying to figure it out, and I ended up actually only fishing there for one day, and then I went all the way to Lake Huron, and ended up scoring on some fish. And again, just a rumor of a walleye guy who caught a big fish in a tournament, and I ran into him in passing, and he's like, he says, yeah, he said, they're there. I caught one. And I said, all you got to do is just give me one GPS coordinates. That's all I need. And he did. And now I've been going up there in Lake Huron. I mean, when you say Lake Huron Muskie, people look at you. Literally, this is hilarious. I pulled in up there, and this guy comes out, and it's walleye. Walleye. And the guy comes out, I got this huge muskie net. And he looks at me, he looks at the boat, and he thinks I'm up there for walleye like everybody else. He looks at the net and he goes, boy, aren't we optimistic? I was like, I'm here to chase muskies. And he said, what? I've lived here all my life. He said, I've never heard anybody catching a muskie. Now, I've heard that same story here on Winnebago. Yesterday, we seen a guy fishing from shore, struck up a conversation with him, and I said, hey, what do you know about muskies? They ever caught them? He says, I've lived here my whole life, fished this shore, never caught a muskie. But yet you look at what the DNR has put into that system, they have to be there. So it's just a matter of just time on the water and figuring it out. And hopefully when I get back, the boys, Ryan and Sean, they'll have a good report. They said they'll finish up the show for me while I'm gone.
Oh, wow.
I was like, awesome. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Right?
Right.
Very awesome, man. Well, hey, we'll get you back out in the water. I appreciate you coming in and talking some fall muskies and some gear with me. Hopefully I can hear a good report and see some pictures soon.
Yeah, really. I hope so. I think we're on them. I got bit yesterday, and
nice.
It ripped my dog right up. And then we had 2 graph follows, and then one this morning. So, they're there.
They're there.
We just now it's dialing them in. It's figuring out what it's going to take to get them to stick.
Perfect, man.
So,
well, hey, one of my buddies asked. He wanted to ask you a question. And it was, how many muskies have you caught this year? You keep
this year?
Yeah.
Oh God. Me personally, or in the boat?
In the boat.
In the boat, I think we're probably pushing about 40.
40 fish?
Yeah. But now we lost this year. I lost a month and a half of fishing because of warm water temps.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I was calling out west. I was calling up north. I was calling out east to find a place where I could go fish. And it was crazy. I mean, Lake Vermilion hitting 82-degree water temp.
That's insane.
Green Bay, I called Brett Alexander, and I was like, Brett, what do you got for water temp? He goes, Mike, I've never seen, and he was up by Chambers fishing walleye. He goes, I've never seen 80-degree water temp, surface temp. So I lost a month and a half. So we're a little bit down. We're set really good on big fish. We got a lot of really big quality fish.
Nice.
But numbers wise, we're probably a little bit down, and that's just due because we lost a month and a half. So
that goes back to conservation and protecting those fish.
You just can't do it. I mean, you hear reports on it that scientifically there's no proof that it hurts them, but I just can't take that chance.
Right. On the water experience, from years past, I'm sure you've seen it.
I've seen it. So.
All right, man. Well, hey, appreciate you swinging in and coming in on a day that you're normally on the water right now.
Right. So, well, I'll get back out.
There you go, man. Well, hey, thanks, guys, for watching. And we'll be back at it next week. The following week, I will be out. I am fishing the head-to-head event up north on Matunga, Boom, and Pelican Lake. Hopefully, I make it to those other 2 lakes. Should be a great time. You'll see some giant fish up there. So check out the Head-to-Head Facebook page as well for all the details on that. Thanks again, Mike, for coming in, and we'll talk to you guys later.